Hello, the evening hours are here, or early evening. It's about 5 p.m. I think, and I'm out here killing the camera. Temperature is about 10 degrees below, and as you can see, we're still living in a winter wonderland. And well, I'm killing this camera, but at the same time I'm killing every single electrical device I'm carrying on me. So the camera, MP3 player, and my phone. And mobile phones, and especially iPhones, can't take winter, or they can't take even this kind of a southern Nordic winter. Or what comes to iPhones, they can, but you have to keep them in your pocket, and you have to make sure that your pockets are well enough insulated. Insulated, I think is the right word. If you're holding those things in your hand on a weather like this, it's not windy or anything, but if you hold it in your hand in a weather like this, it won't take too long until they automatically shut down, even with full battery. And in order to turn it back on, you need a charger. And that doesn't mean, well, the phone turning off. That doesn't mean that your battery is empty or dead. It's a safety feature built into iPhones. It's a safety feature that will kick in when the temperature of the inner parts of the phone is reaching 0. Which is kinda neat to have, just in case, but it's not good if it happens when you actually need your phone. I've experienced that a few times before, or I experienced that few times until I learned that keep it in your pocket. The deepest pocket you can find, and now I mean the insulating factor. And I have a small problem. Well, it's a small problem and it's easily doable, or it's easy to go around it, but still it kinda me. With that small action cam I showed a few days ago, I have a small problem with it. If I connect the camera to a PC with a USB cable, it charges as it should be, but none of my computers can't recognize it. They can't find it even if I search. They still can't find it, and they were used to able to find it. Just hook in a cable, there it is. I'll turn on the camera after that, and there it is. But now they can't find it. But the camera sees my phones, my PCs. The camera can see it. It recognizes that it's been hooked up to a computer, but my computers can't find it. And I've tried pretty much everything I know. So the problem is the USB lead, which I don't think so, because it can still charge and the camera recognizes that it's been hooked up to something. Or there's something with my PCs, or then there's something. One possibility is that there's something with the USB connector, that mini USB connector on the camera. Which brings me to my next point. Why can't there be universal mini USB? I mean, we have those big USBs. Well, the part that goes into your computer, that always looks the same if we're talking about PCs. But the other part, there's this bigger version that's kind of a blocky, and then you have that kind of a standard mini, or what we can call standard mini USB. But I looked through all of my devices that are using something else than that bigger version of the USB. There are 4 different connectors. Why? Why can't there just be 2? One bigger and one smaller. That would make life so much easier, because now I only have one cable that's compatible with the camera, so I can test another. I'm not able to test another cable. And that's, well, some people, well, quite a lot of people actually, are saying that Apple products are pretty much crap. Well, there's one at least one thing that's acceptable as a reason to be a Mac fan or Apple fan. Compatibility. If you have an iPhone, a MacBook and an iMac, it's easy to use those things in tandem or with one another. And that's obviously, that's if you're willing to pay the price, both financially and in the form of this kind of a closed operating system. With PCs, you have more choice. You have more choice what comes to parts, and PCs are very easy to upgrade if you want. Mac products, not so much. Or if you have the money for it, not so much. But with a PC, it's, well, for example, if you need more RAM, just open the tower of the PC, put another memory stick in, you're good to go. But with MacBooks and so forth, with iMacs, it's not all that simple thing to do, and same thing with processors and everything like that. With PC, it's easier software wise, because there are so many kind of third-party things you can use. With Apple, you're kind of stuck with the possibilities or options they're giving, and sometimes it can get pretty expensive. It's stupidly late. I'm still here. But while ranting about the bad things and not working things about technology, I also have to bring up some good things, and in my case very good things. When I was a teenager, still living with my parents, I wasn't able to play at night, or I wasn't allowed to play at night. I had an electric guitar, and well, unplugged electric is not really all that loud, but it was still loud enough, so I wasn't allowed to play during night or when it was night. And when you're a teenager, you're basically, if you can, you're sleeping all day and then doing your own things during nighttime, playing video games or whatever. Well, and I wanted to play, but I couldn't because it was too loud. And bass is not one of these. This is not all that loud when unplugged, unless you're slapping, but that's a whole nother story. That's something I can't even do. But this is kind of a luxury for me with, well, somewhat modern technology, because all you need is take those headbuds off. All you need is one of these. Line 6 Pocket Pod. And some people are saying that these are garbage, but actually these are meant for practicing, I think, mainly. And I've actually heard some recordings done with something like this, although self-made presets, not the factory presets, but self-made, and they sound, well, usable. And this is a nice thing to have during nighttime when I want to play, and without an amp, on a couch, comfortably. And I've actually done a show with this, I have to say this, and I was playing bass. I was using this. We were doing a show and I had this on my bag, and during soundcheck my bass amp broke, and they offered me a bass amp from another band, but being the difficult person I am, I wanted to use my own gear, not because I'm mine, not because of that, but just for the experimenting sake, which was kind of a risky experiment, but it worked out. So I plugged my bass into this, and I had a bass preset that I made earlier. I plugged my bass into this, and this was actually ducked because this is very light. This was duct taped on top of my bass amp that was still on stage, and then from here the cords went into the sound system. And some people were very surprised when I told them after the show that it wasn't my amp. It was this I was playing through, and it worked. It worked. So, Swiss Army knife when needed. And those are not... Well, you don't want to play with those live. Those are for kind of practicing, noodling at home or at backstage or wherever you are. Those are nice. And you can also hook an MP3 player or an external sound device so you can play with backing tracks. But then another piece of gear that I bought here, and this thing has seen road, and I'm amazed that it's still in this shape, is this. This is a Behringer V amp. I think it's called XV amp. I think this is a Behringer's version, cheapo version of a I think it's called Floor Pod from Line 6. And I've played quite a few shows with this. And this was for years. This was my main effect unit. Both and when I was recording or when I was playing at home, when I was on the rehearsals, when I was doing shows, I was using this. And once again, tube amps and kind of high-end gear is nice. But when you're playing these kind of a small local shows and something like that, you don't really need a high-end tube amp. And for me, convenience has always been kind of the main thing. If I can survive with less what comes to gear, it's always better. Because the more you have, the more things can go wrong. And when I was playing bass, well, I sold my bass amp about 4 years ago when I had to stop playing in bands. I was still, when I was playing bass on stage, I had 3 pedals: a tuning pedal, sans amp, preamp, and a big muff, bass big muff. No more, because I don't want to have, well, it always looks cool when you have this kind of big pedal board. I don't want them, because there are too many things that can go wrong. So it would sound great, I know that, to have this kind of big pedal board so you can take all kinds of things from there and do sonically whatever you want. But for me, less has always been more, just because of convenience, and there are less things that can go wrong that way. And even if you have one pedal, you can always put the jacks to the wrong holes, and being there, done that. So this is nice thing to have. And unplugged bass isn't that loud, so I can play during nighttime even when everybody else is sleeping without causing too much noise. And I don't usually even play if I'm awake at this time of night. I'm reading, browsing internet, maybe playing computer games or something like that, but instruments are something I don't usually touch. Maybe some keyboards, but string instruments I don't usually even play during nighttime. But in the times like this, because I played for something like 2 hours, which is kinda unusual for me at this time of night, but I just wanted to play. Well, if you are a player yourself, you know that sometimes the urge hits and you just have to. But at least now I have some new riffs that I can try tomorrow with with drums or with drum loops to see how they fit. I would like to say that it's time for me to go to bed, but I said that yesterday and I was completely out of it when I stopped yesterday's vlog. I was completely out of it, but still I stayed awake until something like 4 a.m. I know I'm an idiot. What comes to taking care of myself, what comes to getting enough sleep. But anyway, see ya.